Chair, we're live again and the recording has started.
Okay, thank you. So we're back on to item 8, which is a grant of occasional licence under the repeated occasional licences, a hearing, and this time it's for the steading at Home Farm Mary Cooter, and it's Christian Stolt is the applicant. So the officer taking the report is the clerk, Morag Stevenson.
Thank you, Chair. Can we just check that Mr. Stolt is still present?
I see a phone, so are you able to unmute yourself, Mr. Stolt?
Yes. Hello. Hi there.
Okay, that's grand. You're there. So just please note that the board meeting will be recorded and published online for public viewing after the meeting. And I'll just ask the Deputy Clerk to confirm the procedure for the hearing.
Thank you, Chair. Similar to our 2 previous items, this matter relates to our repeated occasional policy. Again, the report sets out the history of the applications that have been made to date, and members will no doubt recall that the steading and previous applications have been determined by the board recently. Harriet will be able to provide an update on the position of any premises licence application, but we also have an official representation from our Licensing Standards Officer, and which highlights the current applications within their report. It's for the board to determine whether these are to be granted today based on any explanation given for any lack of premises licence application received. Insofar as the procedure is concerned, we'll hear from the applicant, hear from the Licensing Standards Officer. The applicant has a right of reply. Questions can be asked of all parties. We then have concluding remarks in reverse order, and it's then for the board to reach a determination. Chair, just prior to handing back to you, I just take this opportunity to ask Harriet to confirm whether or not any premises licence application has been received to date.
Thank you, Morag, and can confirm there's no premises licence in our system.
Okay. Right, so we've confirmed that Mr. Stolt is present in the meeting. Mr. Stolt, are you satisfied that you've received all of the relevant information and you feel able to participate in the determination of this application?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. And can I confirm that Lisa Godini, the Licensing Standards Officer, is present?
Yes, I'm present.
Yes.
And are you satisfied that you've received all of the relevant information and feel able to participate in the determination of the application?
Yes.
Yes, I have. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. The guidance I read out before, but because we've been on a break, I think I'll just go over it again for the benefit of the applicant. In line with the guidance you've received in the public participant meeting protocol for licensing board hearings, please can you mute your microphone when not speaking? If your phone permits this, please do not speak unless I invite you to do so, and please do not interrupt the other speakers. If you do, you may be removed from the meeting. Once you've been asked to make concluding remarks, you're not entitled to speak again unless to answer a question from a board member. Once the board has made its decision, you will be asked to leave the meeting. If the board requires to adjourn to deliberate the application, the recording of the meeting will be paused and the board will retire to a separate online meeting room. Please wait in the main meeting room until the board members return and I can resume the meeting. At that point, the recording of the meeting would be restarted. So I'll go first to you, Mr. Stolt, to outline the terms of your application to the board, and you might want to address the concerns raised in the representation at this time, although you will get a further opportunity to address the board after other parties have spoken. So over to you, Mr. Stolt.
Yeah, good morning, convener, good morning, board members and LSO. I would like to update you on the progress that I've made towards premises license. First, we had an architect, Mr. Andy McDonough from EOLS Architects, come for a site visit to advise us on what he envisions to has to be done. so on lighting and security and production and other aspects. So that company has, EOLS Architects has a lot of experience in issuing and helping towards, not issuing, of course, helping towards premises license. That's why we hired them. So following that, I'm very grateful that LSO Keith Simpson and a colleague were able to come out very kindly for a site visit. That was very, very helpful, and we discussed aspects of operations, security, storage of alcohol and production, and many other aspects. So that gave me a lot of a wealth of information. So those, after having gathered the information and the advice, my licensing lawyer Neil Hassard has filed an S50 application with an operations plan and a layout on Friday, the 16th. So just a few days ago, which will explain why you do not have that present in front of you. But that was filed last Friday. And again, just to underline, there is no plan for us to open a bar in the forest. So the cider is way away from anywhere else. The only reason why we're also applying from on-premises consumption is because we would like to be able to conduct some tours with some samples. So in summary, we're looking forward to the board's advice on how to proceed towards premises license, and the provisional license has been filed last Friday. And we're kindly asking the board and the convener to consider granting the occasional licenses that I've put in for the next few weeks, which will enable us to keep selling online on our website. And also another consideration that we would ask for is there is the Provenance Festival that is organized by the Aberdeenshire Council, where interested customers have the opportunity to visit the premises. That will happen from the 21st to the 29th of September, and maybe an exception could be granted that the public could visit the facilities during that week. Thank you. Hello?
Sorry, I was on mute myself. I'm saying thank you. So there's quite a few elements in there for us to consider, Mr. Stolt. I'll go next to Lisa Gaddini, Licensing Standards Officer, to speak to her representation.
Thank you. My representation before you is in relation to 7 occasional license applications. The first one from the 30th of August and running, the 7th one running until the beginning of December. The applicant has been applying for occasional licenses for their business since March 2022, with the first granted from the 24th of April. And to date, there's been a total of over 50 granted occasional licenses, with the most recent finishing last week on the 15th of August. Similar occasional license applications for the same premises have been heard at the Aberdeenshire Licensing Boards on the 28th of February and the 24th of April 2024. It was agreed at the April board meeting that any further occasional license applications could be granted under delegated powers. However, any applications beyond today's board meeting should be brought to a hearing to be determined, as well as gaining information from the applicant on how to progress with the premises license application. The meeting held on the 28th of February 2024, the Licensing Board attached an additional condition to the granted occasional licenses, where there were to be no tours of the premises and customers could only collect orders, pre-orders from the premises. This condition was also attached to licenses granted from the April board hearing, as well as the 5 which had been granted under delegated powers following the hearing in April. You've just heard from the applicant himself, and you will see from the applications in front of you that the application is detailed in the description of activities taking place at the premises at question 3 of the application form, that there will be sale of alcohol for off premises only, as well as occasional tours of premises, including samplings. You will note from my representation, I have recommended the condition regarding collection of alcohol only. However, this condition may be wished to be reconsidered depending on the information given to you from the applicant and what you believe the suitability of the premises being used for the tours. Should the licensing board be minded to grant these applications, then in my representation, I have recommended conditions to be applied to the granted license. These conditions are the same conditions that have been recommended for all previous licenses and have been previously agreed by the applicant. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I'll go to the applicant now, Mr. Stolt. Have you anything you wish to add, having heard the submission from the Licensing Standards Officer?
No, I think I don't have anything to add to that. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. So it's open now to board members for questions at this stage. Ms. Black?
Thank you. Mr. Stolt, thank you for coming back to see us again, or talk to us again. I just wondered, you say you've had an architect in and you've had the LSO round and they've all given you advice on how to proceed, and obviously you've put in your S50 application. But have you actually done any physical changes as a result of that advice, seeing as you're asking us to allow you to have tours in the building now?
So we have looked into lighting. I have installed some lighting there. They're not all standards exit lights, but we're working on that. So the architect has advised us that there needs to be some standard follows, and I'm waiting back to hear concerning any security measures that are needed. Maybe walls need to be erected or something like that. So until the request has been made, I'm hesitant to move or get anybody in to change things before I know exactly what is required. Which is okay. That is why.
Thank you. If I could just come back on that, I don't know whether this is something perhaps for the LSO, but for actually having the public in the premises, are any building warrants required?
That would be for me. I wouldn't know 100%, but I would imagine potentially any work that is being done may require building warrants to be in place. But I'm unsure if any work has actually been done since the last conversation, and whether or not that would be required.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Goodall, please.
Similar questions as to Don, Mr. Stolt. Thank you for coming before us again. I think for some of us here, and particularly for myself, it's the safety of customers that's paramount. And I'm concerned that you don't seem to have, perhaps you have, and that's part of my question. What advice have you taken to increase the safety of visitors and to ensure that it is safe and that your insurance, etc., public liability insurance is up to date and covers everything that you're doing? Can you shed some light on that aspect, please?
Sure, Mr. Goddard. So my liability and insurance is covering what I presently have. So, you know, I worked in the oil field for many years. So I have fire extinguishers in 2 rooms, and there's a big water hose that I use, of course, for washing the apples. But that is long enough and can be extended. It's automatic rollable, so that reaches every corner of the premises. And the fire extinguisher is a powder one to approach any potential electrical fires. But that's all I can say for now. Yeah, I need. That's all I can say for now. So it has. I forgot to mention. My landlord has installed a new metal roof last year on the entire building.
Okay. It's not within our remit, I don't think. But what you've just mentioned about using a water hose to extinguish electrical fires is highly dangerous.
I didn't say that, sir.
Sorry. Okay, I picked you up wrong. Okay, thank you.
Okay. Any further questions from members? Just a question myself, Mr. Stolt. Mr. Goodall asked you about your public liability insurance, and you said that was all up to date. But if you're not having public into the building at the moment, is the public liability for when you attend fairs and things, or what does it cover?
Well, I'm assuming that also covers visits to my premises, but that's an assumption. So I will need, following your suggestion here, I will check that with my insurance. Thank you for that.
Mr. Mason, please.
Yes, something that's bothering me is issuing a license to a premises to be used in a premises which is not licensed, which can't have a premises license. There's something wrong here. Did we not say that this is just for off sales only? This license, yeah. The previous license.
Do we want to clarify that for Mr. Mason, maybe Morag?
Thank you. I think the LSO can probably clarify better than me. My recollection is that the previous occasional licenses were granted for off sales only because there was a specific condition added to those licenses that tours could not take place. If that's not the case, I'm sure Lisa can clarify.
Yeah,
that's my recollection as well.
Just before, sorry, Chair. Just before Lisa clarifies that, I just perhaps maybe quickly answer that query about we're granting occasionals for effectively a building that may not be appropriate for a premises license. Just reminding members that is the difficulty. That is the difficulty, the legal difficulty with occasional licenses. They are not subject to the same stringent checks that would be required for a premises license, but that's not a reason legally to refuse them. So just to highlight that again, because I do appreciate the difficulty in making that sit straight. It doesn't seem right, but that is actually legally the position that we're in, Mr. Mason.
Yes, I realise that, thanks, yeah.
Okay. Lisa, please.
Yes, sorry, I'm just going to clarify what has been granted previously. So I've got the occasional license, the most recent occasional license expired on the 15th up in front of me, so I can confirm that licensed hours were Monday to Sunday, 10 AM to 10 PM for off sales only. And the conditions that were attached to the premises license were conditions that are from the pool of local conditions, so which is already set out in my report, as well as the additional condition from myself with regards to tours, and a couple of conditions set out by Police Scotland, again, which were all what's the word? Agreed by the applicant at the time of the applications being processed.
Okay, thank you. I just have a question for Mr. Stolt as well. With your previous occasional licence expiring on the 15th of August, I presume you're not able to trade at the moment?
No, I'm not. Well, I'm not directly, yes. So I go to farmers markets, of course, for which I have occasional license, but yes, I'm not able to trade directly at the moment.
Okay, so you don't have any online orders or anything happening currently?
No, I don't.
No. Okay. Any further questions from members? Ms. Sullivan, please.
Hi, I'm a wee bit confused about that last thing that you just asked, Marion, about he doesn't have occasional licenses at the moment, but he said that he's still going to farmers market, which he has separate. Another. Has he got two lots of temporary licenses, one for his premises and one for the markets?
To attend a market, he would apply for an individual occasional license for that actual event, which would be separate to operating under occasionals in his premises.
Right. Okay, thank you. Yep.
So I don't see any further questions, so we could move to closing remarks, please. Lisa?
I have no further comments to make. Thank you.
Okay, and Mr. Stolt, do you wish to say anything in closing? But please note you can't add anything new at this stage.
I think we have covered everything. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Do board members require legal advice from the clerk? Ms. Sullivan?
Yes, please.
So, do you mean you have a question to ask just now?
Oh no, the wee private session thing that we can do.
Okay, so we'll come to that in a second. Mr. Goodall?
Can I try and seek some clarification on legal advice? Given that we technically within the law should be granting this occasional license, but the premises may or may not be fit to be used as a licensed premises, where does that leave us? Because that's the part that is really confusing me, or not confusing, but disturbing me, because parts of what we are trying to do is the decision we took before was that we disallowed tours. Now, is that really within our remit to disallow those tours? I think that's the crux of it.
It's within your remit to attach conditions and any specific conditions that you would wish to attach to an occasional license. So that's within your remit. I think there is a separate, much wider discussion about concerns about the suitability of a property, because that falls into the difference between the checks for a premises license and the checks for an occasional license. But it is within your remit to attach conditions as you see fit to an occasional license. So I don't have any difficulty, for what it's worth, I don't have any difficulty with the condition that you have previously attached, but it may be, having heard as to some things that may have changed or may not have changed from the applicant since those conditions were imposed previously, that the board may approach it differently this time. But you can attach a condition, a specific condition.
Thank you, Morag.
Does that help? I know it's not.
It does to a degree, but it's still,
area.
yeah.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Sullivan, please.
That answers my question. So I'm
Okay.
good. Thank you.
Okay.
Right, thank you. So in that case, will the Deputy Clerk please outline the terms of the legal test for the application?
Thank you, Chair. Again, as members are aware, and we've just discussed, there are no grounds upon which to refuse the object of attending this morning and considering these applications is to obtain an update from the applicant as to any movement towards a premises licence. Any grant would be subject to the standard local conditions and the specific conditions requested by the LSO and the police. And as I've previously highlighted, any specific conditions that the board may wish to attach. Again, I would be asking the board to consider how they would wish for any future occasional licence applications to be dealt with, whether that be by bringing them back to the board or using the delegated authority of the Deputy Clerk, either alone or in consultation with the convener.
Okay, thank you. Do board members wish to retire to deliberate? No. Okay, thank you. So I can now open the application to members for debate. Ms. Black, please.
Thank you. As has already been discussed, we are not in a position to refuse the occasionals that have been applied for, and I still have no problem with Mr. Stolt selling online and from his premises, as long as the public are not entering into the building. So I would be inclined to add the condition that we had for the previous licenses and continue in that vein until we are assured that the building is up to standard to allow the public in. I am very happy to see that he has been taking on advice and has got things in motion with an S50 applied for, etc. But no work has actually been done, and in the interest of public safety, then I think it's really important that the public is not going into that building. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I would agree with those remarks. Ms. Sullivan, please.
I agree with what Dawn just said. I'm not happy with tours going ahead, and I would prefer if it wasn't under delegated authority, so that it has to come back for each tranche of occasionals. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Goodall, please.
I agree with Dawn. And
Oh, I think we've lost you.
oh, this keeps
you're back.
happening to you. It's my unbreakable broadband. It keeps breaking. Yes, I agree with Dawn. I think you got that bit. But I think that we should
No, you've gone again.
Okay, I agree with Dawn, and I'll leave it at that.
Every time you try to say the next bit, you freeze.
That's because Belle's putting a juju on me. She's wanting me to agree with her as well.
Goodall. Okay. We are still in the licensing board. Any further comments? Can we give consideration as well as what to the future applications which are likely to come in, and how we want to deal with those when it comes to time to make a decision? Ms. Black.
Thank you. Same arguments as the previous hearing that we had. I wouldn't want to leave it, open-ended. We've brought it. We put a time limit for it to come back to this meeting, so I would want to put a time limit again on how long we allow delegated powers to have delegated powers to grant, even in conjunction with consulting with yourself.
Okay, thank you. We're not quite at making a motion stage yet, though, Mr. Menard.
Yes, I'm in exact agreement with Miss Black there. I think we should put some sort of time limit onto this. So I agree with her 100%. Thank you.
Okay. So since we're straying into determination, can I just ask members to confirm you've received sufficient evidence upon which to make a decision?
Yes.
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 Okay.
Yes.
So
yes.
I'll call for a motion in that case. Oh, Morag, do you want to come in?
Thank you, Chair. Just prior to calling for a motion, just to clarify, because it is good for us to have a steer as to delegated authority and whether or not the board is happy for us to use that. But these occasionals are going to fall out with policy. So as a matter of fact, they will come back to the board unless you specify that you're happy for them to be delegated. So it's, if you don't clarify that you wish us to use delegated powers with or without the convener, then any future applications will come back before the board.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for that
I'm just
clarity.
noting that these are till December anyway, so it's quite a period of time.
Okay, I'm calling for a motion. Mr. Mason, you're on mute.
Yeah, what I would like to do is, Grant, as Ms. Sullivan said, until the next board meeting. So they've got to come back each board meeting every time. So we'll do a delegated grant until the next board meeting. Is that possible?
So the list of applications here today exceed the date of the next board meeting?
No, just until the next board meeting. To grant the ones until the next board meeting. Yeah.
Okay, so that would be granting the applications. It would just be the first two on here then. Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
Okay. Is there a seconder for that motion? Ms. Black, no.
No.
So an amendment then?
I would put forward an amendment to grant all the applications that are applied for with the condition that there are no tours allowed on the premises, no public is to enter the premises, and any future applications come back to the board. There's no delegation.
Okay, thank you. I would be happy to second that motion myself. I see Deputy Clerk waiting to come in, Morag.
Sorry, I was just trying to clarify Mr. Mason's position on that motion, because I'm not entirely sure that the intention there was to just grant the first two, or if the intention was that any future applications should come back before the board.
I think he was meaning that only
Because
grant the applications up until the next board meeting.
That would require to avoid the applicant having effectively a gap. So if you look at the dates of those applications, the date of the next board is the 30th of October. There are applications that run to the 24th of October, but realistically, because the hearing's not until the 30th, you would have to grant the one that runs to the 7th of November as well. Otherwise, the applicant's going to have a period where the licenses have run out and we still haven't reached the board hearing.
Okay, yes, that sounds...
So that would be granting the first the first 5, which would take him to the 7th of November. But then the next 2 would be heard on the 30th of October. That
right. Okay, yeah.
makes sense.
That makes sense, yeah.
And then
This
motion.
is just, and what we're just talking about, we're still talking about off sales as well at the moment, yeah.
It's only off sales.
Yeah.
That would be a matter for whether or not your motion, Mr. Mason, also included a condition about no tours.
Yes, no tours, yeah.
But the motion has no seconder, so it falls in any case.
It's going to fall anyway. Yeah. It's simply to clarify those dates, Chair, because we're going to hit a difficulty with just granting the first 2.
Okay, thank you. Can I bring in Harriet first, and then I'll go to the members?
I just wanted to clarify, we probably will come into the same practicality with Ms. Black's motion. If we're having no delegation at all and we've got applications until December, we then don't have another board until February. It would then leave the applicant maybe 2 months without being able to trade. If there's completely no delegation. Obviously, if we're looking to have consultation with the convener, the convener then can delegate the authority back to allow no gap, and then bring the other applications that fall within the remit of the next board to the members' attention without a gap in trading for the applicant.
Okay, yeah. Are you happy to accept that, Ms. Black?
Yeah, because I was just looking at the dates as well. We have got a board meeting on the 18th of December, but obviously that would then leave a gap for the applicant because he's only applied up until the 5th of December. So either we amend the...
I would also just say as well, in terms of the time limit and referring him to the next board, it obviously doesn't give the applicant very much time to get anything in order. We cite applicants 2 weeks before a board, 3 weeks for our agenda setting. So really it's less than 2 months for the applicant to get any significant evidence together to put towards the board, just to take that into consideration with your motion.
Yeah, okay, yeah, I accept that then. If we'd be looking to bring him back on the into the February board, so delegated powers until the February board.
Okay, thank you. That's clear. Mr. Crowson, please.
Thank you, Chair. I just need to clear something up here because I had put my hand up to second Councillor Black's amendment.
Oh, okay, sorry.
I believe when Trevor Mason put a motion and then Councillor Black put an amendment, my apologies if I heard you wrong, but I thought that you said that you would second the motion at that time, and that was before it was declared that the motion had fallen through. So I think we just maybe need to clarify that and check that yourself was actually.
I was seconding the amendment from Miss Black.
Okay, thank you. So
okay.
I would need to.
Okay, apologies if that was confusing. I maybe said motion, did I? There was the amendment.
We all do it.
Yeah. So in that case, we can go to the motion fails. So in that case, the motion actually is with Ms. Black because the first motion fell. So in that case, we just need to check and see. Well, we need the wording first for the what is now the motion, isn't it? And then we need to check the wording and then check that members agree. Could we just check
to do it again?
I think Morag's got it written down.
To have a go, and you can check if I've managed to get it right. So what is now our motion by Ms. Black, seconded by Mrs. Ewanson, is that the applications, the occasional licence applications before you today are granted, subject to the standard local conditions, the specific conditions identified in the report by the LSO and the police, and the further specific condition that no public tours of the premises are conducted. And thereafter, all future applications for occasional licences are to be determined by the clerk using delegated authority in consultation with the convener until the date of the licensing board in February 2025.
Correct, yes.
Does that sound? Oh.
Yes.
Okay, and I would agree to that as well. So, Harriet?
Sorry, just to be clear that we'd obviously be citing him 2 weeks in advance and the agenda setting meeting. So the date of the agenda setting meeting in February, if agreed by yourselves today, would be the 5th of February. So it'd be any applications after that date.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Content with 5th of February as being the date.
And I think just for clarity as well, the condition, the specific condition about not conducting public tours in the premises would also cover the special event of the Provenance Festival. Most certainly. Just to make that clear, because that was mentioned.
It was, but it would be a condition on all of those licenses. Yes. So that would prevent that taking place for that specific festival. Yes.
It was just to make it clear to the applicant that that's included. Okay, so do members agree with the motion?
Agreed.
Agreed.
Agreed. Okay.
Agreed.
So can we just confirm that decision to the applicant, please?
Yes, thank you, Chair. So, Mr. Stolt, the applications that are before the board today have all been granted, subject to the standard local conditions and the specific conditions stated within the report from the police and the LSO. Your licenses are also subject to an additional specific condition that no public tours of your premises are to take place. And as you just heard from the convener, just to clarify, that means that the public cannot be conducting, there cannot be tours during the festival in September. And thereafter, any further occasional licenses will be determined using delegated authority by the Deputy Clerk in consultation with the convener until the 5th of February 2025. And any applications post that date will come back before the board.
Understood, yes.
Thank you.
So thank you for attending today, Mr. Stolt. Sorry you had quite a time to wait, but thank you for your attendance, and that concludes this item.
Yeah, thank you very much. May I ask one quick question concerning the progress here?
Yes.
So if the building is in the conditions for receiving full premises license, then how would be the procedure to put anything in motion concerning tours prior to February 5th?
So
It's going
if
to
the
take longer
building,
anyway, right?
if the building is then in suitable condition when you apply for your premises license, so you would apply for tours in that time, or what are you not quite sure what you're meaning there?
Right. Maybe my question is irrelevant. The premises full premises license application will take probably much longer than February 5th, correct? Even if everything is in excellent shape tomorrow. Yeah.
Yes, it's likely to take longer. Yes.
So then that's irrelevant question. Thank you for that.
Okay. Thank you. Right. So we move on to item number 9 today, which is the grant of an occasional license, repeated occasional license, a hearing again. This time it's the Holiday Inn, West Hill Drive, West Hill. And we have a representative in today, Mr. McKeever, on behalf of the solicitors. So we can go, I think Mr. McKeever's been with us. Are you still in the meeting, Mr. McKeever?
Yes, indeed, Your Honours, I'm still here. Yeah, good
Okay.
afternoon to you.
Thank you. So just please note that the meeting will be recorded and published online for public viewing after the meeting. And I'll ask the Deputy Clerk again to confirm the procedure for the hearing.
Thank you, Chair. Similar to our previous items today, this relates to our repeated occasional policy. The report sets out the history of the applications that have been made to date. Harriet will be able to provide an update on the position of any variation application having been received. And there is also the official representation from our Licensing Standards Officer in relation to these latest applications. It's for the board to determine whether these are to be granted today based on the explanation given around the progress of the required variation application provided by the applicant's representative. Chair, as far as the procedure is concerned, we'll hear from the applicant's agent, hear from the Licensing Standards Officer. The applicant's agent has a right of reply. Questions can be asked of all parties, and then we have concluding remarks in reverse order, and it's for the board to reach a determination. And again, just prior to handing back to you, Chair, I take this opportunity to ask Harriet to confirm whether or not any variation application has been received to date.
Thank you, Morag. I confirm there is a variation application that is being processed accordingly.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So we've confirmed that Mr. McKeever is in the meeting. Are you satisfied, Mr. McKeever, that you've received all of the relevant information and feel able to participate in the determination of the application?
Yes, indeed. Thank you, Your Honour.
And can I confirm that Lisa Godini, Licensing Standards Officer, is present in the meeting?
Yes, I'm present.
And again, are you satisfied that you've received all the relevant information and feel able to participate in the determination of the application?
Yes.
Yeah. And I think you've both been in the meeting. You'll have heard the public participant meeting protocol, so I won't go over that again. So can I just go first of all to Mr. McKeever? Can you outline the terms of the application to the board? And you might want to address concerns raised in the representations at this time. But you will get a further opportunity to address the board after other parties have spoken. So over to you, Mr. McKeever.
Yeah, thank you very much, Your Honour. First of all, I apologise for my somewhat casual attire today. I normally usually wear a collar and tie to board meetings, but I'm actually in Australia, believe it or not, just now. So I didn't pack a shirt when I left on my holidays. So apologies for that. Yeah, the situation here, as Ms. Stevendale has said, is that a variation application has been lodged. Now, the variation itself, and I appreciate you're not dealing with that today, but it covers a number of aspects, tidying up a licence, looking to change out licensing hours, and also the inclusion of an external area, which, if you're familiar with the premises, is pretty much adjacent to the conservatory in the hotel, which, as you know, has operated for many years. Now, there have been, as you can see, a number of occasional licences lodged, And when this process started, we also at the same time lodged the variation application. So it's been with yourselves for quite some time. Now, there were a number of queries along the way which have been raised by Ms Tivendale and which by and large have been answered. But the last missing piece of the jigsaw, as far as I'm aware, is part of the plan requires to be submitted or amended, to be more accurate, to show a lock-fast alcohol store, which is in part of the premises, not in the area we're actually talking about today, not in the area to be covered by the occasional licence, but clearly the variation is stalled, if I can put it that way, until that last piece of the jigsaw is completed. A request has been made to the agents who are instructing me to have that plan produced, and they in turn have requested, as I understand it, their architects so to do. And as soon as I get it, I will lodge it, of course, with Miss Tivendale. So unlike the other applications that have been before you today, this is one where the variation application has actually been submitted, but it has bumped and stalled along the way. As Your Honour's Clerk has pointed out on a number of occasions, clearly your policy is not really one to refuse. It's more to encourage people to get a move on, if I can put it that way, and get a variation in or a full licence or whatever the case may be. And we have done that already. There are no adverse comments in respect of the application, in the sense that during the occasionals which have been granted so far, there have been no issues arising from them. It's been brought to you today in conformity with your policy, but in my view, your policy is really designed to cover the situation where people are trying to circumvent the normal licensing process by lodging occasionals rather than a proper application. We have done that, so matters are very much moving on, albeit somewhat slower than I would certainly like to be the case. So with the assurance that matters are indeed moving, and with the assurance that we're more than happy to accept the conditions referred to in the LSO report, which have been attached to previous occasionals granted, I would invite you to grant the applications that are currently before you. And as with previous submissions, perhaps you would give consideration to allowing the continuation of your clerk, and whether it's with Your Honour and the Chair or whomsoever, to continue to deal with the occasional licences on a delegated basis until such time as a variation is ultimately before you and hopefully granted at that time.
Okay, thank you. I'll now go to Lisa Godini to speak to her representation.
Thank you very much. The LSO representation is in relation to 3 occasional licence applications. The first one to take effect from the 30th of August, with the third running until the 10th of October. As discussed by the agent, there is a premises licence in place. However, these applications are to cover an outdoor area of the premises. The premises licence holder has been applying for occasional licences for the outdoor area of the premises to take effect from the 29th of July 2023. So there's been a total of 23 granted occasional licences, with the most recent due to expire on the 29th of August. It would therefore be my opinion that the continual use of occasional licences to run the business is inconsistent with the Aberdeenshire Licensing Board policy statement. 4.45 of the policy relates to the repeat use of occasional licences, where it is detailed that businesses that are applying for occasional licences for a period of over 3 months will be required applications to be considered at a hearing and not be granted under delegated powers. Should the Licensing Board be minded to grant these applications, then in my representation I have recommended conditions to be applied to the granted licences. These conditions have been recommended for all previous occasional licence applications and have been agreed previously with the applicant. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Lisa. So, Mr McIver, have you got anything you wish to add, having heard the submissions?
No, I don't think so, Your Honours. I don't agree that the current situation is actually contrary to your policy. As I say, I think your policy is designed to push people along to get a variation, in this case, lodged, and that has, of course, already been done. But I think it's in all our interest to try and get this moving as quickly as we possibly can to an ultimate conclusion. So nothing to add beyond that. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Board members, have you got any questions for either of the parties? No. So closing remarks then. Lisa first, have you got any closing remarks?
No, I've got nothing else to say, thank you.
No. And I'll go again to Mr. McKeever. Do you wish to say anything in closing?
No, thank you, Your Honour. Just
No.
be repeating.
Okay.
Thank you.
Do board members require any legal advice from the clerk? No. So in that case, if I could just ask the Deputy Clerk to outline the terms of the legal test for the application.
Thank you, Chair. Again, there are no grounds upon which to refuse these applications, and as Mr. McIver has highlighted, the purpose here is to try and ensure that the applicant is moving towards varying their premises licence. Any grant today will be subject to the standard local conditions and the specific conditions requested by the LSO and police, which are stated within the report. And again, as members are well aware, I'll be looking for a steer as to how the board would wish for future occasional licence applications to be dealt with.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Do board members wish do board members wish to retire to deliberate? It's the first question. No. In that case, I can open the matter for debate. I'd be quite happy to come in myself. I don't really have any issue with this application, but on the subject of delegation for any future applications, quite happy for that to just be delegated by the Deputy Clerk, given that the variation application is submitted and is in progress. Mr. Goodall.
Just to say, I agree with your proposal.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Black.
Likewise.
Okay. Have members, can you just confirm that you've received sufficient evidence upon which to make a decision?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
In that case, I can call for a motion. Quite happy to make a motion myself. I don't see any indication. In this case, just to say that we grant the occasionals applied for today, and in terms of any future applications which may follow for occasional licences, the authority be delegated to the Deputy Clerk. Is there a seconder? Mr. Menard?
Wholeheartedly second that motion, Mrs. Ewison.
Okay. Is there any amendment? No amendment. In that case, just outline the terms, please, Deputy Clerk, to confirm the motion.
Thank you. So we have a motion by yourself, by Mrs. Ewison, seconded by Mr. Maynard, that the 3 applications before you today be granted. And that's subject to the standard local conditions and the police and LSO conditions within the report. And thereafter, that any future occasional licence applications for these premises be considered by the clerk using their delegated powers until such time as the variation application has been processed and granted.
Okay, thank you. Do members agree?
Agree.
Agreed.
Agree.
Agreed.
Okay, thank you. So it's just to confirm the decision, Mr. McKeever, but I think you heard the motion there. So thank you for attending today.
Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That concludes item 9. We're now moving on to item 10, which is the grant of an occasional licence. Again, it's a repeated occasional licence application, and it's Captain's Galley, Harbour Place, White Hills. Okay, thank you. I just see a message there from Mr. Adams. Does that mean you'll be leaving the meeting later, Mr. Adams? He's not replying. I'll see if he comes back in with that. So I'll just go first to the Deputy Clerk. I'm trying to remember if we've got anybody attending for this one today. Yes, we do. I'll go to the Deputy Clerk to just confirm the, first of all, to outline the application.
Thank you. Chair, we should have Mr. Donald present representing the applicant this morning. I think that's what you were looking for. There was a change. I think the applicant herself was intending appearing today, but she now has a representative in Mr. Donald. And as far as I'm aware, he is present.
Okay, I think he was in the call earlier.
Harriet, are you able to confirm if Mr. Donald is still present? Oh, you are.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay. That's good.
Turning to the procedure this morning, Chair, again, this is similar to our previous items. It relates to the repeated occasionals policy. There is a history of the application set out within the report, and Harriet will be able to provide an update on the position as regards any premises licence application having been received. We have a report from our Licensing Standards Officer, and it's for the board to determine whether these applications are to be granted based on any explanation given by the applicant's representative. Insofar as the procedure is concerned, we'll hear from Mr. Donald as a representative for the applicant, hear from the Licensing Standards Officer. Mr. Donald has a right of reply. Questions can be asked of all parties. And then we have concluding remarks in reverse order prior to the board then reaching a determination. And just prior to handing back to you, Chair, I just take this opportunity to ask Harriet to confirm whether or not any premises licence application has been received to date.
Thank you, Morag. I've been advised that we have received a premises licence in the last couple of days. Has not yet been passed for processing, but I can confirm receipt of that application.
Okay, thank you. So just confirm that Mr. Donald is present. I think that's the telephone that we're seeing. Mr. Donald, are you with us?
Confirm, yes.
Yep. And are you satisfied that you've received all of the relevant information and feel able to participate in the determination of the application?
I am.
Yep, thank you. And can I confirm that Sarah Ward, LSO, is present?
I am.
And are you satisfied that you've received all the relevant information and feel able to participate in the determination of the application?
Yes, thank you.
Okay. So in line with the guidance you've received in the public participant meeting protocol for licensing board hearings, please can you mute your microphone when not speaking if your phone permits this. Please do not speak unless I invite you to do so, and please do not interrupt the other speakers. I think, Mr. Donald, you'll maybe need to switch off the live stream, or at least the sound on it. Thank you. Okay. Once you've been asked to make concluding remarks, you won't be entitled to speak again unless to answer a question from a board member. And once the board has made its decision, you will be asked to leave the meeting. If the board requires to adjourn to deliberate the application, the recording of the meeting will be paused and the board will retire to a separate online meeting room. Please wait in the main meeting room until the board members return and I can resume the meeting. At that point, the recording of the meeting will be restarted. So we'll go first of all to the applicant, or on behalf of the applicant, Mr. Donald, to outline the terms of the application to the board. And at this point, Mr. Donald, you might want to address the concerns raised in the representation, although you will get a further opportunity to address the board after other parties have spoken. So over to you, Mr. Donald, just to outline your application.
Thank you very much, convener and the board, for allowing me to represent Victoria. She sends in her apologies, but due to a family funeral, she cannot attend. Just want to explain that we have requested so many occasional licence applications as a couple of local businessmen, myself included, from White Hills, have recently taken over the lease of the Captain's Galley, and having lived in the village for generations and seeing the building laying empty from its previous lease owners for many months. We felt it was benefit the village and the community if the galley was reopened with new investment. The building itself is owned by the White Hills Harbour, which in turn is owned by the village. So the harbour and the galley building is run by a committee of volunteers, which are classed as the harbour commissioners. When the lease was taken over in April, it was suggested to the harbour commissioners that it might be in their best interest to apply for a full alcohol licence rather than a new tenant applying each time if there was a new lease out there. So if unfortunately the main application from the commissioners has taken longer than expected, and that was they were waiting for Section 50 certificates, which they have now received. The commissioners forwarded their operating plan to the Galley Group on the 12th of August, which was read through, reviewed, changes made, and sent back to the commissioners for application. We have now been notified by the harbour commissioners that they have submitted the application, and hopefully, and I think it was confirmed that it is now in the system. Really, that's everything for me, and we hope you understand the application for the occasional licences. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So I'll now go to Sarah Ward to speak to her representation. Sarah, please.
Good afternoon, convener and board members. So similar to other applications, as you're aware and confirmed by the Deputy Clerk to the Board and Mr Donald, Director of the Harbour Commissioners, as per the report, these applications are before the Licensing Board today, in line with the Licensing Board's policy, in that the Board must consider said occasional licence applications if the premises have been trading under occasional licences for more than 3 months. The paper shall reflect a series of 7 occasional licences from the 20th of May to 25th of August that have been granted to date, and the outstanding 5 occasional licences from the 26th of August to the 3rd of November for your consideration today in line with the policy. As you're aware, and which has been confirmed this morning, a premises licence application was lodged yesterday by email from the agent on behalf of the Harbour Commissioners as premises licence holders. Standard and specific conditions have been recommended as part of the consultations as per previous grants. I have no further comments to add. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Mr Donald, have you got anything you wish to add, having heard from the Licensing Standards Officer?
No, just thank you for your patience in this matter.
Okay, thank you. Members, have you any questions for either of the parties? No questions? Okay, so we'll move to closing. Sarah, have you got any closing remarks?
Nothing, convener.
Okay, and Mr Donald, have you got anything further you wish to say in closing?
No, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Do board members require any legal advice from the clerk at this stage?
No.
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 Okay. Can the Deputy Clerk please outline the terms of the legal test for the application?
Thank you, Chair. Again, similar to previous cases this morning, there are no grounds upon which to refuse. The purpose is to try and ensure that the applicant moves towards a premises licence, and you've heard from the applicant's representative today. Any grant will be subject to the standard local conditions and the specific conditions requested by the LSO and police within the report. And again, Chair, I would just be asking that the board consider how they wish for any future occasional licence applications to be processed and determined.
Okay, thank you. So, members, do you wish to retire to deliberate?
No.
No.
No. Okay. So I can open the matter for debate. Mr Taylor?
Thank you, Convener, and thank Mr Donald for his contributions, realising it's an important part of the village and the volunteer effort of the commissioners, but I'm comfortable and happy with his explanation, and keen that the occasional should be granted at this stage. Is my thinking.
Thank you. Any further comments from members? No. So in that case, we could move to the determination. Could members please confirm that you've received sufficient evidence upon which to make a decision?
Yes.
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 So can I call for a motion? Mr. Taylor?
Yes, my proposal would be that we grant these 5 occasionals in this instance, and that future delegations, if there are future applications for occasionals, they should be delegated to the Deputy Clerk. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Is there a seconder? Ms. Black, are you seconding?
Yeah, I'm happy to second, and also to confirm that the conditions onto the licence would be as in the report.
Okay, thank you. And you're happy with the treatment of future, any future
the delegation to the
applications?
clerk. Yeah. I mean, yeah.
Okay, thank you. Is there an amendment? I don't see any indication. So in that case, could we just confirm the wording of that motion, first of all, maybe from the Deputy Clerk?
Yes, thank you, Chair. So we have a motion from Mr. Taylor, seconded by Ms. Black, that these 5 occasional licence applications be granted subject to the standard local conditions and the specific conditions stated within the report. And thereafter, any future occasional licence applications are to be determined by the Deputy Clerk using delegated powers until such time as the premises licence has been processed and determined by the board.
Okay, thank you. Do members agree?
Agree.
Agreed.
Okay.
Agreed.
All right, so we're happy to agree that application. So thank you, Mr. Donald, for attending today. Do we want to confirm the decision?
I can confirm that, Mr. Donald, just to confirm that the 5 applications today have all been granted subject to the usual local conditions and the conditions within the report, and any future occasional licence applications that come in prior to your premises licence being granted will be determined by the Deputy Clerk using delegated powers.
Okay, thank you. So thank you for attending today, Mr. Donald.
Thank you.
That concludes item 10. So I'm actually wondering, looking at the items we have left, if this might be an appropriate time to break for lunch and come back for item 11 afresh. Is 30 minutes sufficient, or do we want to go with 45 for a lunch break and then come back on item 11?
I'm happy with 30 minutes.
30 minutes, okay. Mr. Menard?
30 minutes is good for me as well, thank you.
Okay, so in that case, it's 1:45. So if we come back at 1:15, restarting on item 11. So for now, we can ask for the live stream and recording to be switched off.